We are incredible bundles of human capital. CT and Andre are taking a high school economics class. CT is into music and dresses the part. Andre is a nerd. He has very good grades and he has used his time in school to develop the skills necessary for the labor market. Andre, CT, and their classmates learn that employers are interested in a worker's human capital, what he or she can contribute to the bottom line. Coach Brown was getting a little irritated. He had a few too many prima donnas on the basketball team. Guys who were certain they'd blaze through high school, be NCAA stars, and get drafted early into the NBA, where they'd end up on cereal boxes with their own signature shoes. Of course, it didn't matter that these guys, no matter how good they were, had a better chance of getting hit by lightning while winning the lottery. He shook his head, rubbed his eyes, and spoke to his team. Guys, listen up. I realize you're all good athletes, but that's not all there is to high school. I want to talk to you about something called human capital. Aw, Coach, the players moaned, anticipating a boring lecture. Zip it, gentlemen, Coach said sternly. Let me tell you a story about two guys who also needed to know about human capital. It wasn't that Andre disliked CT. He actually sort of considered him a friend. Andre was a nerd. There was no other way to say it. He knew it and he lived with it. He didn't play sports, he didn't have a lot of friends, he didn't listen to their music, and his love of classical music didn't endear him to many of his classmates. In short, he had few redeeming qualities in the eyes of his fellow students. Andre wasn't sure if CT was cool either. He was a music freak. He DJ'd in a hip-hop group and spent most of his time practicing at his friend's house. CT was a pretty big guy, and it stood up for Andre more than once when some of the jocks were picking on him. They had a weird relationship. Andre was grateful to CT, and CT seemed to respect Andre's accomplishments. And Andre had some. He had the highest GPA in school, which meant he'd be the valedictorian. He had some kind of science prize that gave him a full scholarship to any college he wanted to attend if he majored in the physical sciences. He had a perfect math score for his entire high school career. He and his partner were the state debate champions. He spent his junior year in Germany and spoke fluent German and French. And CT was actually smarter than Andre was. That's what frustrated Andre. In elementary school, CT had great grades without ever opening a book. He had a photographic memory. He never forgot a fact he heard or read. But he had his music. Andre had heard him a few times and didn't have any idea whether he was good, mediocre, bad, or horrible. He was betting on horrible, but admitted he had no way to judge. He knew one thing for certain, though. CT was loud. Very, very loud. Since he had become involved with music, CT had lost all interest in school. He was actually getting C's, but learning nothing, and not caring at all. His parents were seriously upset, and they talked and threatened, but they had no effect. CT just kept spinning and scratching and ignoring and probably smoking too. Andre hated smokers. CT was his friend, but Andre knew that people make their own decisions and have to live with them. He went about his business and saw CT less and less. After Christmas break, Andre had mixed feelings when he walked into his economics class and saw CT there. It was good to see him after so long, but he dreaded watching him mess around and alienate the teacher and generally just screw up. Andre didn't know how relevant economics would be, but it was required. It should have come as no surprise that CT was in the class too. The teacher was also the varsity basketball coach, so Andre expected a rough time. He didn't know Coach Brown at all, but his experience with jocks in general hadn't been good. He was actually pleasantly surprised. Coach seemed to know him and had given him a big smile and "Hello, Andre," as he walked in. Coach started the class by stating that this was the most important class any of them would ever take, and that it was going to be fun, exciting, important, and life-changing. The students turned to each other with that "yeah, right" look. Coach stopped and looked at them for a minute. All right, wise guys and girls, you can smirk and laugh if you like, but we're going to be talking about you and your future in here. And like it or not, Michael, the fact that you were the varsity football captain in high school is not, I repeat, not going to buy your ticket to wealth and fame in the future. You see, the world out there is looking for people who can contribute. Let me explain a phrase to you, one that is essential to success in the business world. It's called bottom line. In business, that means profit. Coach paused for a minute and continued, looking around the room. This may come as a great surprise to many of you, but employers aren't going to hire you for your good looks, amazing wit, or dazzling personality. That's not the way it works. I wish you all had to take this class in your freshman year, or even your first year of middle school, so that you'd have plenty of years to pay attention to its lessons. Rhonda, what is your job in high school? Rhonda answered a little proudly. Well, Coach, I worked in the school office last year, and I was on the soccer team. That's exactly what I mean. Rhonda, I don't mean to pick on you, but your attitude should have been checked at the door when you entered this school. Your job here, in fact, is to develop skills that will prepare you for life after school. CT raised his hand. Andre sunk down in his seat, waiting for the worst. Yo, Coach, I know exactly what you mean. That's why I'm so into my music, man. That's how I'm gonna make it, know what I'm saying? A famous musician. Coach thought for a minute. CT, I do know what you mean. But have you studied the market for musicians? Do you know how many musicians make a living at it? Do you know what kind of music will be in demand over the next 40 years of your working life? Do you have any indicator of how good you are compared to others who have the same goals? CT answered immediately, Yeah, man, my friends all say I'm great. Coach nodded and moved on. Michael, back to you for a minute. You had a great high school football career. Do you plan to play in college? You know, Coach, my folks really don't want me to. They talk about my odds of making it to the pros and the things I would have to give up in college. They don't think it's practical. But you were voted all-league, all-Northern California, all-everything. So were a lot of guys. Mom says she doesn't want this to be the best thing that ever happened to me. I should be looking forward to even bigger challenges. What do you think you want to do? Well, Coach, I don't know. Maybe something easy like teaching high school economics and coaching football. You know, something that doesn't take much preparation or skill. Michael, Coach said, giving Michael a pointed stare, your irony is surpassed only by your amazing but misplaced courage. Satisfied, Coach turned to Louisa. Louisa, what kind of life do you want 10 years from now? Coach, I want it all. Big house, fancy sports car, career, kids, trophy husband, great vacations, toys. I appreciate your honesty, Louisa, but 10 years from now? Okay, maybe a bit longer. I'm thinking about being an MD. What kind of grades will you need to get into medical school? Very good ones. Well, you have them so far, Coach said. Keep it up. He turned to Ian, a white boy in the back of the room who hadn't been paying attention. Ian, how about you? Coach, Ian said slowly, I'll tell you, I don't care. I'm not going to live for 10 more years, so it don't make no difference. Either I'm going to knife someone and end up in prison and get killed there, or I'll get killed before I go to prison. You know, life just ain't worth much. So why don't you just cut the crap and let us sit in here and mind our business, put in our seat time, and then go home? The class was used to Ian and his attitude, but they had never heard a response like Coach's. Ian, I'll tell you why. Because my job is to help every one of you see the light, and that's what I intend to do, whether it suits you or not. Now sit up, lose the attitude, and let's get on with the business of keeping your sorry self out of jail. I'll tell you something, Coach said sarcastically, getting in Ian's face. In all of your astounding 17 years, you haven't seen anything, and you don't know anything. Let me say it again, a 17-year-old knows nothing. Son, see me after class and we'll discuss this further. In the meantime, turn around and face me and let's continue. And I want you to pretend that you're somewhat interested. Ian turned around and sat up, which astonished the class. Okay, here's the business at hand, said Coach as he distributed a worksheet. Are you getting the message? There are plenty of folks out there who want great lives and lots of stuff. And we haven't even begun to touch on the question of the quality of life. Is it just money you want? Or maybe you'll decide to go for a career where you make less money, but work your tail off because you love what you're doing. Like teaching high school econ and coaching football. Your job in school is to acquire the skills necessary to achieve your desired life. Whether that means a big fancy job, or a great job that doesn't pay much, or a life at home with your family. Your goals are your goals and no one else's. Let's take a look at the world you'll face when you leave here, Coach said, passing out another handout. Coach talked about the differences in the world since the industrial age ended. You have to build your human capital if you're going to survive and prosper in the 21st century. Human capital is the bundle of skills and knowledge each person possesses. It's what you know and what you can do. It's your most important resource, folks. You need to realize that human capital is the only thing an employer is interested in. What skills and knowledge do you possess that will add to the bottom line? Why should that employer pick you, especially if there are 200 applicants for a position? Coach then handed out his last handout, which listed skills that employers are looking for in the global economy of the 21st century. In economics, he explained, a thing with a high price is said to be relatively more scarce than a thing with a low price. When this concept of relative scarcity is translated to the labor market, it means that someone who wants to earn a good living must have skills that others don't have, and those skills must be in great demand. Coach turned to CT. CT, there is no doubt in my mind that your music is unique. No one can make music the way that you do. The only question is whether your music is in great enough demand to enable you to make a living at it. In the sports market, those of you who think that you are going to be professional athletes have to ask yourself, are my skills great enough to distinguish me from all the other great athletes? And is there even a demand for my skills? Like it or not, it's a matter of supply and demand. Andre, I want to put you on the spot. People began to snicker and roll their eyes. Andre was used to it, but it still upset him. Andre, I want to name some skills, and then you tell me if you think that you possess them. Don't be shy or humble, okay? Let's get the facts out. Coach began to go down a list. Basic skills: reading, writing, math, speaking, listening. Yes, Andre said. I'm pretty good at those. Creative thinking, decision-making, problem-solving, visualizing, knowing how to learn, and reasoning. Andre, are you responsible? Have pretty good self-esteem? Are you sociable? Do you manage yourself without much direction from adults? Do you have integrity? Coach, Andre shouted, embarrassed. All right, I'll answer that one for you. Yes on most counts, but you might want to work on the sociable part. People here don't give you much of a chance, to be fair. Maybe that's something they can work on. Andre, are you pretty good at planning and organizing? Yes, he replied. We could go on, but I don't want to make you more uncomfortable than necessary, Andre. The point, class, is that Andre has consciously developed a fairly scarce bundle of human capital. Isn't that right? Andre couldn't help it. He was embarrassed. Yes, Coach. I guess so. And Andre, they call you a nerd, don't they? Andre looked down. I've heard the term from time to time. Andre could hardly get the words out. He had trusted Coach Brown, went along with him, and now he was going to get slammed in front of everyone. CT, tell me, do you know what they call the high school nerd 10 years later? CT had been paying pretty close attention and was pretty proud of Andre. No, Coach, I don't. Coach's smile widened, and he said with a satisfying shrug, CT, Andre, class, 10 years after high school, the class nerd is usually called boss. See you tomorrow. So, gentlemen, Coach said to his team, there's a moral here. If you have plans for a comfortable life, you better plan on developing your human capital in areas other than basketball, just in case. Now, you and I know that you are all the next LeBron James. It is unclear, however, whether the NBA knows that. Human capital, skills, and knowledge. That's what I'm talking about. Hit the showers, Coach bellowed as he turned off the TV.